Good morning. 4 days ago. 4 days ago I had buds on the tree. They were falling to the ground like they wanted to come out and start some spring. And today we've got a major storm in effect from midnight last night until I think tonight or tomorrow. So they've already given us, what, 5 inches? So I just spent the morning plowing. And I doubt much is going to happen today. Everybody's hunkering down again. Other places are getting it worse than we are. It's a very wet, heavy snow though, so you know, if it starts to freeze, this is the time of year where the lines start falling and trees start cracking, and it's just a big frickin' mess. So today we're going to go back to the 1800s. I'm not sure exactly when in the 1800s, late 1800s, maybe like 1890. And what we're going to go over today is the Reynolds and Flintham Undertakers. Pretty cool old pick. Now, one of the things that I like to do here with my business is search out these old businesses, and you know, if they have a logo, I use it. If not, I come close to what the text that they've used on their awnings, and I'll create a little cool picture, and I screen print shirts, and then I sell them. And that's cool for the locals. I mean, it doesn't really mean anything to anybody else, but we have a festival every year, and that's usually when I sell them. And then what doesn't sell, I give away in baskets for raffles or benefits or whatever. And they're cool. So we're going to step back a little bit further. You know, if my friends, I already know they're here, I heard them. If they want to come through still, that's fine. They may know something or somebody from that time period. It's not that far removed. Who's here with me right now? Who's walking in? Somebody walking in?
Doesn't just scratch the skin.
I'm using the Matrix app. It's common here for me.
I know.
You know?
Got you.
So, does anybody know anything about the Undertakers here in Albion? Are you familiar with them? Did you know them?
I can make
Okay, well, I've got an article here I'm going to read. I'm going to turn this down a little bit while I read it. So, one of Orleans County's oldest funeral homes is likely that of Merrill Grinnell, which dates well beyond the 1870s. Now, our group went into Merrill Grinnell Funeral Home last year, and we met a few spirits, and what was cool about that is it tied into later investigations, as one of the men that we met there showed me himself, and he told our medium that he wanted me to stand next to him up where they would normally lay the caskets out. And this guy was just staring into his casket, Rick said, and he wanted me to stand next to him. So I went up there, and I stood in the area that I was told to, and I asked the guy to show me himself, and he showed me a couple flashes very quickly of what he looked like, and that was confirmed by the medium. So that was really cool for me because I've never done that before. And the guy was sad because nobody was there for his funeral. And then many months later, when we went to the Roots building, which was an old pizza shop, our guides were there, and one of the guides that was the girl who owns the building, who we now know as Lewis, Jasper, Mr. B. Mr. B was, or is your boss, correct? Mr. B was the head of the mafia here. And he told the medium that he knew that we were at that funeral home because he was there, and he witnessed us there because they keep an eye on everything that happens in this town, back then and now. And he also told us that he was the one who shot the guy that wanted me to stand next to him. I don't know what this guy did. I don't judge about it. It's none of my business. But this is the story, and I am presenting it as we know, or as we're told. What was that gentleman's name at the funeral home? Does anybody know? What did he do? What did he do that got him shot? Can you tell me, Lewis? What did he do? One more time. Someone's walking away again. Is somebody walking in and out of here? Okay, so that's as far as we're going to go with that. I want to finish reading the article, so I'm going to turn it down again, guys. Okay, so we were talking about the Merrill Grinnell, which dates beyond the 1870s. And this image shows two predecessors to the current business, Cassius Reynolds and William Flintham, however you want to pronounce it. Standing in front of their store on North Main Street in Albion, Reynolds purchased this business from his father-in-law, George O-U-G-H, who was a prominent business and president of the Albion Board of Trustees. Was Mr. George O, how do you pronounce his last name? Og? Did you know George Og? Hey Jasper, I hear you in there. How are you? Okay, so it is thought that the lineage of this business dates back as far as George Pullman, who ran a furniture-making business in Albion during his tenure in Orleans County. This business later transitioned into Og, then Reynolds and Flintham, who operated the outfit in the 20s. Reynolds and Flintham were known locally for dealing in crockery, glassware, and furniture, in addition to their work as undertakers. So I think this store has nothing to do with the undertakers. That must have been a separate store. I thought for some reason they were joined, which would have been really creepy. This image clearly showcases the stock crockery and glassware carried by the business, visible throughout the store and on the tables standing outside. Several chairs are situated in front of the building, and a number of prams are on display. Mr. Goff's tenure with the business dated back to Og's ownership, when at the age of 16 he first applied for a job. He became somewhat a local celebrity in regards to his work as a funeral director and embalmer. So, did you guys know Mr. Og? Did you know Mr. Og? You did? He must have been older then, right? Was he older than you? When did Mr. Og die? Okay, so like I said, he was a funeral director and embalmer. His claim to fame was being the first to cover a casket in cloth for use in Orleans County. In his earliest years working with Og, caskets were made to order, but he watched the industry develop as he worked over 40 years throughout the ownership of Og, Reynolds, Flintham, and Merrill. In 1926, the business was sold to John B. Merrill. Now, John B. Merrill, in that funeral home that we were at, he came through. He is still there. The oldest man. He was my neighbor when I was a kid. I lived across the street from him, and he was a really awesome man. He was a nice man. John B. Merrill of Holly. His son, I'm sorry. Not the owner, that would make me really fucking old. But his son, John Merrill, who took over, he was a really good guy. So John B. Merrill of Holly, who partnered with his son Roy to start J.B. Merrill and Son, Goff remained with Merrill for nearly 13 years before his own retirement, and upon his death, he was regarded as one of the oldest funeral directors and embalmers in western New York at the age of 83. Today, John B. Merrill and Son, exist as Merrill Grinnell Funeral Homes. That's how old this article is, because he's now dead too. One of the notable features of this image is the reflection in the windows of the storefront. The beautiful white fence and the trees were situated in front of the mansion of Lorenzo Burroughs, which stands today as the home of Key Bank. Oh, I didn't know that. It's a really nice looking house that they made into a bank. So that is that, you guys. Do you have anything you'd like to add about Mr. Og? Was he a good guy? You guys must have kept this funeral director pretty busy, huh? All right, you guys, that is it for this article. I do want to flip over to the AM and see what's going on, so I'm going to turn this app off. Thank you for coming through. Did Mr. Merrill come? You're welcome. Did Mr. Merrill come through? Mr. Merrill, are you here? You did? Thank you. I knew your son. Okay, that was a bummer. I hope I haven't lost the connection with John, because that was really cool.
I don't like it.
It's only been about 5 minutes. John, are you still with me? You are? Awesome. Hey, thanks for waiting. So, John, your funeral home has changed hands many times since your family stopped working it. So it's no longer a family business, but you still stay there and oversee things, don't you?
There's something inside tells me. There's nothing to prevent me.
You were there the night our team went in. Do you remember me? And they have a picture up on the wall of him in remembrance. And those eyes, that picture, they just looked at you everywhere that you went into that hallway. I remember that. It gave me an uneasy feeling. But you really are there watching, aren't you? Well, Mr. Merrill, I do want to thank you for all your years of service here in the community. So, now that funeral home is bought out by his competition that is across town. So that's a common theme around this area, even with our restaurants. We've got people buying restaurants and not opening them just because they don't want the competition. And that's why this town is falling into the fucking ground. And it's a shame because the buildings are old and beautiful. And one day, when it gets nice out, I'm going to take the cam out and we're going to do a street session. And I'm just going to walk around these buildings and film them and show you the awesome craftsmanship. But a lot of them, 3 stories, the third stories aren't being used, and the roofs are leaking, and there's dead birds in there. It's a shame. And they can't afford to keep them up. They can't afford to have people come in and fix them up the way that they should be. At some point you got to say, hey, enough's enough. Let's just stop the historic preservation of things because they're just crumbling into the ground. And you've got to renew it. All right, let's go to AM radio, you guys. Thank you, John, for coming through. It was nice talking to you. Goodbye, John. Thanks, Lewis. Thanks, Jasper.
Put that piece of paper near the door, will you?
Put the piece of paper where? By the door? Alright, we're gonna turn this off. I like the room reverb. I gotta set it up. Just be a moment. Or somebody comment about my reverb, about my pedal being a cheap, shitty part. It cost more than that $9 part that was in it. Anybody who uses guitar pedals knows the freedom that you have with them in obtaining different sounds. And that ain't the sound I want. I want it to sound like a radio still, so I'm going to go up to a room reverb, and I'm going to take this about halfway. Just get a little of that static out of there. There's still a little static popping through. I don't have a cutter on here, and I didn't want one. Okay, are there any passerbys here who want to stop in and say hi before I end the session? Yeah, what's your name? Tom? What did you say? What was your name? Nice to meet you. So what did you do in life? Can you tell me? What was your job in life? I always like to ask that question. It just, it's a little more personal than asking them how you died, or we can ask that later. But how many fingers am I holding up? Can you see me? It's obvious they can see me. They're saying hello. Have you ever been to this shop before? Have you ever been here before? Yeah, I think so. I think that was the yeah. I don't think that my local spirits here let too many people hang around. I think they let them pass through, but I don't think they let them hang around. They keep this place pretty clean from what I can feel. And I do sage it every month, maybe every month, maybe every month and a half. I'm always burning incense and stuff. I was told by a spirit guide to keep my windows smoked because I've got a window on one street and a window on another street, and it's a pass through. And I've been told many times that many people pass through here. So to keep it clean, I like to keep them smoked up. I like to sage in here. But I don't have any more problems in here like I used to. What do you guys think? You got anything to say? Any advice? Is there anything you want to say to anybody out there on YouTube before we go? Do you know what YouTube is? It's the internet, and many people watch. A little quiet today on the radio, but the app was kicking it pretty good. When I get this radio outside of this business, out of these walls, we'll do another one. It'll sound a lot different. Okay, you guys. Any passerbys, you can't stay here, as you know. You have to keep going, okay? But when I'm doing a session, you are welcome to say hello. But you can't stay, so you have to go back to where you came from, okay? All right, you guys have an awesome day. Thank you for coming through. Goodbye. Can you say goodbye? I guess not. Okay. Thank you guys. Goodbye. I almost forgot. I'll show you this. This is a new one. It's not, well, it is wood, but it has a cloth over top of it. And it's glued, like a tweed, I guess. And I've never done it all black. This is going out to somebody. I won't say who yet. Or I won't say who at all, maybe. But yeah, this is going to be for their show. And it's going to be a very raw radio. Old school, very distressed. It's supposed to look beaten, it's supposed to look warm. And that's what I've so far achieved. It's not a very big box. It's it might be 8 inches across, 6 3/4, something like that. So what we'll do is we'll put a speaker over here. I've already got the amp in it. I'll probably put a pedal over here on the side, and that will be a nice reverb unit with 3 different settings. We'll put the back on. I'll put the battery on the back side. I may even do with what I did on this replica and put the pedal through the back so that it's flush and out of the way. This way I can cut out a square without worrying about whether or not I'm going to ruin the radio, and I can punch it through the back. And if I mess up, it's just a 30-cent piece of wood and I can recut it, you know. So I do like the way this looks. I like the way it's there, it's visible, you can see what it is, your controls, and if you're using it in a session, you know, you'll learn what the settings are quick enough. You can just put your hand back there and the switch goes 3 positions and you've got 2 dials. So it makes it easy. And then it keeps, you know, the look for your videos. You don't see all that other stuff behind the scenes. It's back there and it's not looking fugly. All right, so this will look cool when I'm done with it, and it should sound just as nice as any other radio that I've built here. Goodbye.